Hello there. I'm Mr. Brooks Bobbitt, and this is apparently Comic Book Nation, a one-stop shop for all things geek culture.
No one's going to get this reference until next week, though, Kofi.
I know. We got to try to do these things.
Wow. Well done.
Thank you.
Went over my head, so
cheers. That's it. Yes, but as producer Jim Viscardi, you can clearly hear, is on us with Comic Book Nation this week, is pointing out you won't get that reference until you two have experienced Marvel's Moon Knight, which some of us here, a mysterious batch here, have had the chance to experience. And we are going to tell you about our insider trip to the Moon Knight premiere out in Hollywood. We had a couple agents of our own out there, and we're going to tell you all about that and can give you, I guess, a first couple reactions from the series. Plus, we got to talk about the reactions to Morbius. We got to give a review of the new Halo TV series that is streaming on Paramount Plus. We have to talk about a lot of big news items, including that Marvel Nova series finally getting announced, a Batman Joker scene, some big delays in gaming. We got a lot to do. So if you have not been following along lately to our podcast, we've been telling you the Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com, of Comicbook.com, but also your one-stop shop for all things geek culture, because I'm telling you, we are like the only people out here going around the bend of geek culture. And today is another example of how we're going to hit on so many fun things. So let's get settled in, and fresh from the bowels of jail, Jim Viscardi was not only out and about on podcasts this week. I think you've made the rounds on every podcast this week. Have you done?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, you've had a trifecta week. You've done a Wild Pokemon Has Appeared, Phase Zero, and now you're here with us at Comic Book Nation to end the week. But that's not all you've done, Jim. What have you been up to this week?
Man, look, I got to go meet the internet's boyfriend, Oscar Isaac. I got to meet Mr. Moon himself. We went out to L.A., went to the premiere of Moon Knight, which was...
Who is the we for the listeners?
Sorry. The Royal Comic Book we, but also myself and Brandon Davis went out, and it was a blast. Like, look, I've done premieres before or whatnot, but it just feels a little extra special when it's something that you feel really kind of attached to. But it was a lot of fun. It's one of those things where you could tell, and you're seeing it online too, right? Like the buzz for this has been positive, but like everyone attached to that show is just so excited to finally talk about it that you just feel like even Ethan Hawke, right? Like, who, for the most part, that like anything I've seen, like he seems pretty reserved and whatnot. Like, could not stop talking about how kind of excited he is for this. And look, I was able to get the Brandon Davis picture. Got me and
yes, that was amazing,
Jim. #1, which is great. And then we did that, and then the day after we did Halo, which we're going to talk about later as well. So big week for Jim, but it was it's
a big week for Jim.
I think you now have to start referring to yourself in the third person for all comic book editorial and managerial meetings.
That was amazing.
I think all your managerial instructions need to come in the third person from now on. Like, yeah, I think that's a thing now. Listeners, take note. Jim in the third person must become a thing. We need your help with this. All right. So I guess we can just give you guys like the quickest reactions, right, about how we feel. I'll go first. I'm
actually excited for what Kofi thinks, because Kofi and I haven't actually not really talked about it.
No, we haven't.
I don't know. So I'm getting ready for whatever he's about to say.
Yeah. Jim, like I said, as I just alluded, is also like our boss. He's our manager. And so like I have to listen to him all the time. So it always irks me when I also have to like tell him he's right about something. Like, it's a really hard thing for me to do. But I am in the process of growth. I have an excellent head doctor. And so I am trying to grow like Mark Spector in many ways. I am trying to grow past my own mental limitations. So, Jim, I gave you a lot of crap and ragged on you, but they've delivered Moon Knight, and I got to say I'm in. And I am very much into this corner of what Marvel is doing and this approach to it. That said, I will say it with the caveat of I am also very much in favor of the changes that they've made to Moon Knight and for this. And I know why they took the angle of approach they did with the show. And I think it was very smart way into this character and to make it much more approachable. So I'm excited for fans to see. And it is something that tackles a lot of a weird mix of things from supernatural to mental health, but it somehow makes it all work. And yeah, Ethan Hawke is just, it's amazing how Marvel can just trust like a real actor to just do stuff. And it doesn't have to be like crazy and bells and whistles. And Ethan Hawke is one of the better villains I've seen. So, my reaction is thumbs up, Moon Knight, guys, be excited. That's my reaction.
Dude, I'm pumped. I was just excited to watch Jim's entire journey. Like I was like play by play, like refreshing the Instagram, refreshing the Twitter. I was like, it's like how I would be if I got to go to Strange, except times 100, because you've been such a long time fan. And dude, like since I've met you, like it's been.
I said this before, and I think Matt will sympathize here, right? In the sense that Marvel had a long list of characters that they could have chosen from for anything like this. And Moon Knight, like I said, was never a top selling comic or whatever. And like I said, would never, would maybe show up like in the mid 20s of like recognizable characters to like any kind of normal Marvel fan. Right. And so the fact that we are here and we're getting this show just goes to show that, like, look, Marvel is willing to dig deep to try, new things. Like they will. I mean, obviously, they're always going to, have the established, characters and stories that they'll do there. But the fact that they're willing to dig and pick some of these characters, seemingly a little bit out of obscurity, is pretty exciting.
Well, especially a character. Okay, so especially a character that is as complex.
Yes.
As Moon Knight is very much, he's not just your average everyday superhero. I will say that I was a little apprehensive about leading, because like we've seen in the trailers, right, and stuff like that, like Grant is more of a focal point, and I was kind of nervous about that because he's my least. I don't even think I have to say he's the least interesting part. He's the least interesting part of Moon Knight. Okay. When you factor in all the different personalities and Khonshu and everything like that.
You mean, you're talking about Moon Knight just in general?
Just in general. Yeah. Stephen Grant, like, it's just like that side of, because in the books, it's a lot of times, more often than not, he's been used as like the money.
Yeah, he's been like a Bruce Wayne type.
Yeah, but like when you start factoring in, Lockley, and when you start even Spectre, and then you start, especially like during the runs where they're all communicating in the comics, and they're it's more of a collective. That's the approach I like. So when the trailer started hitting and we're starting to see stuff of like, oh, it's kind of focused on it, I was a little apprehensive. And then seeing some of the show, I came away going, okay, there are some changes here that I appreciate for someone who is not like, doesn't know a bunch of history. I think this will be a great vehicle for the character to introduce him to new fans. While there are certain things I'm hoping to see as the show goes on, and jump more into certain aspects of the character. I think this is a great. I think Anissa, who doesn't know jack about Moon Knight, hears me talk about Moon Knight and goes like, "Who's that again?" Like, I think she will be like, "Oh, I might get excited about this character." And so that's what I think. Honestly, the MCU does very well, and so I think this is I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens next.
I would be remiss to say that, obviously, so a lot of people know, but for those who don't, Disney let press see 4 episodes of the show, and my only gripe about seeing the first 4 is, and it's a thing that I don't think Marvel Studios has figured out yet with these Disney Plus shows. I think there's a little bit of a pacing problem that we have here that Moon Knight has, that I think all of the shows have had. And so That said, though, there's a lot of really cool, complex things that that the show tackles and does, and there are very cool moments in each episode that I think will still get the very casual fan who knows nothing about Moon Knight or whatever hooked from week to week. But as someone who loves as someone who loves this stuff that's really where I'm just like, oh, okay, well,
right, because this is 6, right? Is this 6 episodes?
6. Yep.
Okay, I only think so far, I think the 6 or that Disney Plus format has only truly worked to me without hitch with Hawkeye, because one of the characters was already established, and they weren't trying to do they weren't going as big as Loki. It was a relatively small area story, and it was focused. They were introducing, a couple of characters, but one major character. But again, the tethers were there, and you didn't have to jump a bunch around. I think 6 was worked for that. In almost every other Disney Plus series, I have gone, it either needs one less or one more. There's always there's something that just feels either rushed or you didn't explore enough. I don't know what that magic number is. Maybe it is 7, but Hawkeye is
I think that this is different in the sense that this, in the truest sense, feels like a very long movie that has just been sliced up into 6 episodes.
I kind of disagree, because that's how I felt about Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I did not like that.
That was clearly a TV show.
I needed 4 episodes less of that.
This is literally and I'm not saying this as a bash. This literally feels in a lot of ways like watching Aquaman in just cut up parts. A very long version of
what?
Aquaman.
I think
it does. It does. I mean, in terms of the larger, and we're doing a review. In fact, we got to stop. We got to move on, because Disney is going to.
I did not do a review.
We'll be back to argue about Moon Knight in the last week. I got to shut this one down, because Disney is going to snipe us, because we are starting to get real deep.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm going to be curious to see what fans, like Jim is alluding to, I'm going to be curious to see what fans feel week to week in this. So
yes,
we've gotten to see it in a batch. I'm going to be curious how the week to week.
The first episode definitely will bring fans back for 2. It's after that I think.
Good. I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. All right. So that's what we can say. Let's talk about other Marvel stuff people want to hear about. Nova! Guys, we're getting Nova. So we're getting the Moon Knight writer is going to be now handling what we were told is a Nova project. Mm-hmm. But what we also kind of knew from previous reporting was that Marvel was working on an Untitled space series. And then right after we got this Nova news, we got a rumor from kind of the same area, from the same sources, saying that it's probably going to be a Disney Plus event series. So that all seems to line up. And I mean, I hit a lot of those stories myself, so I remember it. And I remember when we did the Untitled Space Project, my guesses were just that it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be Nova or a spinoff of Secret Invasion featuring Amelia Clark or somebody like that. And so, I mean, I feel like it's going to be Nova, and I feel like it's going to be an event series. We have no idea which Nova Centurion character we're getting, Richard Rider, Sam Alexander. A lot of us have long had a theory that it could be both, right?
I would love something that culminated into something like what we're going to get with the Marvels, right?
That's what the Sam books became.
Yes. Well, yeah, no, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. I think I love the idea of having Richard Rider as, kind of the grizzled-ish kind of vet. But here's the thing, I say grizzled, right? But that's never Richard Rider is basically Space Spider-Man. He was, he was quippy, youngish or whatever. But I love the idea of him mentoring someone like Sam Alexander, because I think Sam Alexander is a fantastic character.
You ever have a character that because I'm a massive Nova fan. So, but I grew up with Richard.
Yep.
For most, the Nova I read for most of my life when I was becoming a Nova fan was Richard. So you would assume I would have more loyalty towards Richard. And I enjoy Richard a lot. But I mean, look, it's not hard to look at Sam's story and look at some of those things and go why that would resonate with me more. I always just thought because of when Sam came into the Marvel universe and the writers that were writing at the time and the things that Marvel was exploring at the time, just in their overall books and characters, was just man, I wish Richard had that. I wish Rich had come in at a different time and maybe had some of that, because they developed Sam so well as a character and his family and supporting cast. I just think it feeds directly into a show or a movie so much better than Richard. But I want Richard involved. And so what they did when Richard came back, wasn't killed in the Cancerverse and all that stuff, which, by the way, that was also awesome. And I can't wait for World Mind. And there's so many things. There's so many things that I cannot wait to see. So I imagine we get, maybe a rebuilding of the Nova Corps, maybe to some extent. And you see Richard come back, and then you get the helmet. But Sam's story about finding that his dad was one. That's there's so many cool things about that story.
Yeah,
I'm very hyped.
Not only was his dad one, but his dad was Nova Black Ops.
Yeah.
I think you gotta. I think a smarter play would be to kind of combine them.
That's what we said.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying straight up, make Richard Rider Sam Alexander's father, and have him be just.
Why do that? Why?
In order to do that,
why does the MCU streamline a lot of the crazy crap that Marvel Comics?
But it's not crazy. It's not crazy crap. Okay, if you want to
because a father-son story would be
that's what I'm. Okay,
and,
that's what I'm saying.
And there's a lot of ways to play with that. With I know it's changing
but
Sam a little bit into being a half Latin character, possibly his mom's Latin. Richard Rider's old,
but we're talking about two different
cowboy living in the Midwest. You know what I mean?
I'm not disputing that
saying,
you combine traits of certain or aspects of the story. What I'm saying is you want to combine them into one character. I'm saying no. I'm saying there's no reason to waste a whole other character.
Wait. We're going down a rabbit hole, and I don't know if you're hearing what I'm saying. I'm not saying combine them into one character. I was just saying if Richard Rider is Sam Alexander's father, that's not making one character.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It's kind of the 4D chess.
Two separate characters.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying make Richard his father in this one and make Sam a half Latin character. Richard's his father. And you take the story of his father as Richard used to be this centurion, came back to Earth, probably hates it on Earth for a lot of reasons that would be obvious. And his son and that's a father-son story, right? And it starts, and it would start by, John C. Reilly's guy, what's his name? Because he's the guy who gave, Richard his powers, being still the last surviving one and coming back and, being yo, you guys got to hold it down for the Nova Corps and rebuild it. And
we got to bring John C. Reilly back for that.
Yeah. And so, that would be the story. And there's a lot of ways to play with that in Generation. It's kind of the 4D chess that Kevin Feige, Marvel now have to play because they're playing and then I think they learn from things like Captain Marvel is and Moon Knight is obviously already doing it in certain ways. It's they're starting in the middle of these stories, but leaving room so that if you ever have to go back and look at some of this earlier stuff, the possibility is there on the table. You don't have to, but you can also just move the characters ahead. And so Richard's time would potentially be there if you ever want to do a throwback vintage series about him and all that stuff. But we would just start and be able to build out Sam and have Richard be part of it.
Comment in the chat, and it's also good for me too. Just Bun says, I never really read any Nova. Any suggestions? Basically, kind of any arcs or any place to start so that you're ready when any of this content comes out.
Matt, go for it.
I mean, look, you could just say any half of the Spider-Man books in the 90s. Nova just randomly appears in half of them, along with Darkhawk and Moon Knight. I honestly, for me, it's the Ed McGuinness Loeb run. To me, that's where you start with Sam, because eventually Richard gets introduced into that mix later. But I think that book does a really good job of getting you up to speed on what the Nova Corps stood for, all those things, the power set, and you get it through the viewpoint of a family. It's a very fun, gorgeous, because it's McGuinness's gorgeous book. And then as Richard comes in, you start to get the complexities of that and all that fun stuff, and you learn more about Richard. And then you can go, if you want to jump back into some of the earlier, some of my favorite Nova stuff is actually New Warrior stuff. So then you can jump into that. Yes, I will find a way to talk about New Warriors in almost every other podcast we do. To me though, start there. And I cannot remember the year, but I will on Twitter afterwards. I'll pop up the cover to the trade and everything.
That's a great idea.
But it's a yes, Speedball.
Oh god,
love Speedball. Night Thrasher.
All right, let's keep moving because now we're going off the New Warriors is breaking off the rails. So the Nova series, we're going to keep the Nova project is happening. We're going to keep an eye on it and just I'm sure we'll have more details coming. Over on the DC side of things, What y'all think about that Batman Joker scene?
I get why they didn't show it.
Oh, I do too.
Spicy.
Oh, I absolutely do too.
Wait, why didn't we show it? Because I thought it would have been great.
It would have been distracting. No one would have taken Riddler seriously if they knew Joker was in the wings.
Yeah, there's that. There's also the fact that if you had fully committed to this level of performance, like people would have cemented that in their minds. They'd have been like, okay, that's Joker here. And if you tried to change it later, like people would be spazzing out, and Warner Brothers may not have wanted to make this commitment, to that version of the character with this actor, right now. So I understood that.
Anybody would have been talking about is Joker coming out of that movie.
Yeah, and
I get it.
And inevitably, I'm sure for Matt Reeves, like this would have it took 5 minutes online before I think Amazon Prime threw up the Dark Knight interrogation scene, and that's all people would have been doing, right? Like, taking that key scene, it would have been like Dark Knight. But it was cool, and I liked it narratively. I actually really liked it as a pivot point in the story. It's a little derivative of Silence of the Lambs, obviously, but like it was really well done. And Joker's insight and profile into Batman was that's comic book deliciousness right there, right? Yeah, where he goes to read Riddler and he ends up reading Batman in a very kind of disturbing way. And and Barry did his thing. Man, this kid who just bumped his head in Dunkirk is just blowing up big. So good for him. And
can we talk? I'm very curious to see what you guys think about the look.
That's a thing, and I don't want to be like harsh because I think Matt Reeves went for his version, but I don't think it's something Warner Brothers would want to commit to as a long-term version of the character, right? Like it's a little weirdly like Killer Clowns from Outer Space-ish, and just that horror movie shredded look. Like, I don't know for a later character arc in a larger story you would want to go with that.
I think it's too close to the Heath Ledger design. Outside of the hair, it feels a bit too close to some of the Heath Ledger stuff from The Dark Knight.
No,
but he wasn't that mangled though.
No,
like head and like
outside of the scalp, basically like the hair and whatever. But like the facial scarring, the teeth, all that feel a bit too Heath for me. That like just I don't know.
I really like seeing it.
Oh, go ahead, Janelle.
I mean, you guys know I love Joker, and I love a hot Joker, but this is like not hot, and it is so gross, and I love it. Like it feels true to the storyline. Obviously, the more comics I read, and the more I understand Joker, like this just feels like it's definitely hitting that vein, that really, really dark and like tragic aspect of the Joker. Like his story is really tragic, and it's just gross. Like even just his fingers, like I just really nasty, and I love it. I think it just is really, really cool and refreshing. I don't know. It's been a long time since we've had Heath.
I feel like we're going to end up in a courtroom one day testifying like how we did not stop the slow roll of Janelle Wheeler becoming Harley Quinn. You guys sat there and just listened to all this, right? And I'm like, it's good podcasting. We were podcasting.
By the way, speaking of Harley Quinn, I think actually, I can't remember where I saw that comment. I think it was under one of the trailers or the posts or something on Facebook. And it was like, so how does this Joker get a Harley Quinn? Like,
no, it was in our post. Like? It was one of the reactions we pulled from it. It's like,
it's like, what does the Harley look like?
It had me on the floor. Yeah, I did
it'd be so cool if Harley was mangled too.
No, I was like, I think I titled the slide like, is there a Harley for this? Because it was like somebody's tweet that just went viral that was just like, like I would be terrified to see like what Harley Quinn goes with this Joker.
Yeah, I like the design. I actually think like it was like Janelle said, it was off-putting, it was creepy, it kind of got under your skin.
Ooh, you could make her do like a Batman 89 thing with Joker's girls. Remember that? How creepy that was?
Oh man, oh god, wait, bring that one back. But yeah, no, I didn't like the voice. The voice threw me off a little. I don't know what it was, but by the end of the clip though, I will say this. By the end of the clip, I was like, I didn't mind it because I just was like, okay, this is, I understand this version that you're going for, and it fits this world, and it fit the surroundings. So I kind of just accepted it and was like, okay, cool. That voice isn't exactly what I think. I mean, granted, when someone says Joker, I hear Mark Hamill. I will always hear it. That's just how it happens. So it's not the voice I necessarily associate with the character, but I still really liked it. And I would be okay with seeing this Joker be the one for, again, the Batman is kind of its own thing. So I'm okay with them doing something different than just the mainline Joker DCU, whatever ends up being.
I'm not the first. I've seen this online a bit too, but and I agree with it. This Joker feels like it pulls way more from some Scott Snyder influence, and probably
that
is why Scott Scott and Greg truly got the mention in the special thanks because of this, knowing that this scene was filmed, because this Joker feels way more like Scott Snyder's Joker than anything else before. Because I try and think to some of the other stuff that was going on in the movie that, I mean, obviously there was the year 2 stuff that, when everyone's like, oh, that's Scott Snyder. But to me, this feels where that Snyder.
Yeah, it felt like a lot of the 2010s Joker, Snyder, Brian Azzarello.
Yeah, like he didn't even have to lift his face off.
No, didn't even have to lift his face off.
Didn't have to, he's already got it. Didn't even need to take the face off.
That all said, I wouldn't mind seeing this Joker get to play in his own corner of the universe in that Arkham Asylum series.
Right. I got to imagine
that's just the boogeyman.
That's why he's there, right?
I was going to say, me, I'm cynical. So I've been working with Hollywood for too long. So I just think this is Warner Brothers testing the waters. Because you never see them put out scenes like this. It's crazy. Never
especially
happens.
A DVD release or something.
Yeah,
they could have. If Warner Brothers told people that this scene was on the digital special special stuff or on the Blu-ray or whatever, there go sales going sky high. So
or if they just put it as a post-credit scene on the streaming release on the HBO Max streaming release, and they say, "Hey, Batman's now streaming on HBO Max."
When is that hitting again?
Special April 25th. They didn't pay me for that, but
there you go.
One mentioned, but and then they just said, "Hey," and we added a special scene at the end for you Joker fans, and everybody would have been like, "Oh, subscribe!" They could have done a lot of things. So it's curious that they did this, but I mean, they are really pushing into this universe. I mean, Paul Dano's getting a comic for Riddler. Yep. Penguin's getting his own thing. We got a Joker reveal, so we can all debate it out like we're doing right now. So good on the Batman. Let's talk about a bad side of DC things. That's Suicide Squad game, Matt.
Man.
That sucks.
Yeah, Matt. We all have watched too many old
cartoons. I did not think this was hitting 2022.
Did you say that before?
Yep.
When we did when we did the which will Marvel or DC have a better year in 2022? That one did not age well.
I was like, it's not a. I stick by a lot of the things I said in there. But
you did good. You did not believe this was coming. You refused to believe it.
If Gotham Knights had already been pushed into 2022, and I'm like, this one has already been pushed once. There's no way. It was already had a late window, so it's gotten pushed to spring of 2023. Look. Here's the thing. I know it is a Rocksteady game.
I feel like it looks good.
It's a Rocksteady game. People are going to be excited, but I don't know what is going on. I don't know what is going on with this thing.
Especially since it feels like they have been working on this game for a really long time. This has been rumored forever, and so the fact this has it's just one of those things where I'm like, the more I hear about this game, the less I get excited for it, and to me that's a problem, especially when a bunch of great games are coming out, and I'm like, look, do I want to play a game that has seemingly been plagued with issues and delays? I hope they pull it through,
because it's not like you understand it in some cases with things, whether it's if it's an always online thing, or if it's a service thing, or if it's you understand why hey, it goes through development things, or they figure out they have to pivot or whatever. This is a cooperative single. It's cooperative player, but it's still a campaign story driven thing. It's not this massively multiplayer deal. So
gotcha.
It's so weird. I don't know why it's getting delayed so much. But look, I haven't been real high on this for some reason. It's just not clicking with me. The gameplay looks fun, but the
character designs are also
I love
who the hell wants to play as Captain Boomerang is my question.
I'd do it. I would
over
do it.
Harley Quinn, Janelle.
I mean, yes, because Harley's played
over
out.
King Shark, over Deadshot.
I know you're right. No,
I agree with Janelle.
King Shark's a perfect example, though, right? Like, we've seen two very different but also very great designs of King Shark recently. One in the Harley Quinn cartoon, and then in James Gunn's movie, and then like we get this one, which looks more like a street shark
His
than King
face
Shark.
is like smushed in the shark.
He does have
Look, man,
Batista's voice.
At this point, I
which
just
is
feel
cool.
like the entire Suicide Squad franchise has some like weird curse over it, because this felt like early 2010s. This felt like the easiest thing to make money on.
Yeah, it's just
A franchise where you could just do straight up action movie, where a bunch, I mean, an adult action movie, really, if a bunch of people just got killed off on the cheap, you could have done it for like 60 million a pop and just eliminated a whole list of crazy DC characters. And it would have been easy, but here we are.
Yeah.
All right,
I
so
will
that
say, I
game's
agree
not
with
coming
Janelle,
out.
though. I agree with Janelle. I'm more excited to play as Boomerang than Harley.
Yeah. Well,
But
that's a good weapon.
But you
Sometimes.
haven't had a chance
Have
to
you
do
not
it.
played Mario Kart? The boomerang
Yes,
is
no,
savage.
it is the crappiest weapon in Mario Kart. That's my whole point.
You just want good aim,
you are,
man. You
thank
gotta
for
line that
helping
up.
my argument.
You
Nobody,
hit like
gotta
3
line it
people
up.
in a row.
no, my God. Nobody wants. If
awesome.
I were to put in front of like it's like a kung fu test. Tag red shell or boomerang. If you choose boomerang, like you're out of the ninja club. Like, yeah. All right. Moving right along for more disappointment. Let's talk about Morbius.
Oof.
So,
Yikes!
Janelle, I know you love Jared Leto, but I
I
don't
love
know
him.
for sure if you'll love this movie. Although you did really come out of Venom. I saw Venom: Let There Be Carnage with you, and you came out of that like really peppy. I believe you jumped and kicked your heels or something like that.
I
if
was
I remember correctly.
drinking a very high ABV IPA. So I had a blast at Venom. Yeah, I don't know. I think this looks spectacular. It has one of my favorite actors, Matt Smith from Doctor Who. So I'm obviously very excited to see him. The story is really juicy. I've not read Morbius comics. So for me to understand what's going on, and I know where the story is going and how it makes sense just from these trailers, I'm very excited about that. Like, I'm glad that I'm not confused. I feel like that's like the first step for any casual viewer of anything. He's brilliant. Like, I don't see how Jared could mess anything up. He's just a great actor. And yeah, I'm really pumped. I'm already worried that it's not going to do great in the box office. And then people are going to like go after Jared Leto again. And like, he needs some praise within the comic book, like arena. Like, I don't want him to like not have his moment, because he's a great actor. So I really hope people go to the theater and check this out. I hope it's spectacular. I think it looks really neat. And there's a ton of actors that I really like in there. So
I was gonna say Matt Smith is getting rave reviews for his over the top, like his villain
he's
role.
such a good actor.
So there's
The
that.
Crown.
Matt Smith
Doctor
finally.
Who.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm
Finally
just
making it.
happy he gets to be a villain finally. He's been
Yeah.
like several major. I mean, that guy, talk about luck. He's picked like every major villain. He's like, oh, I get to play Skynet? Okay. Like, yeah, this is a sure thing. I got a whole franchise ahead of me. No.
But okay, so they were saying, okay, I don't know. I would have to go back and look but I know I remember when Venom first reactions came out to the first Venom, and they were great. Correct? Am I remembering that wrong?
But this, I mean, here's one that I'll single out that basically just says like it's basically like the same problems of Venom in terms of Sony kind of not really having clear storytelling and, editing down. It's sloppy, but without the fun of Tom Hardy at the center of it talking to himself, right?
Yeah.
So like it's
And
Venom without that fun part.
Venom as a character has a much bigger built-in base
for
than,
sure.
than
Yeah.
Morbius does. And so, but like for these Sony movies have all felt like early 2000s kind of movies. Like, I don't know why they can't kind of just like shake.
But they
this
do
look
well,
or
right?
formula Venom does well because I think Venom does more because of Venom and less because it's a good movie or whatever. Like I said,
Yeah.
Venom, like Batman, like I mean, in the same sense that like, look, there are characters that just have built-in audiences that
Venom always
are
had that.
like are going to show up for that regardless of quality, right? And so
The comic poll shows that this week.
yeah, I mean that's what I mean. And so like Morbius is like, I think the animated series did Morbius so well that I'd love to see that kind of tortured soul kind of character, done well. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to see Morbius. I don't have high hopes for it. I still want to see it because I like the character of Michael Morbius, and so I want to hope that it is not a. Brandon saw it. He said he liked it better than Venom 2, and so
wow,
and so
interesting. I really want to know what these end credit scenes are, though.
No,
they're getting dragged on, and I want to know what they are. So
I don't think you do. I'll tell you on the side if you.
All right, but
wait, you already know?
Yeah, we know things. It's Comicbook.com, dog. We know things.
That's right.
We pretend not to know things a lot. It's part of the job. All right, so Morbius, but yeah, I'm just gonna say, like, I agree with Jim. Like, Sony just seems to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, like, because they can't commit and they keep trying to do too many things at once, build a universe, make a superhero film, and do these kind of genre influences, and it's like, and they won't commit to directorial vision. They'll just keep trying to do studio notes, and you get these kind of hodgepodge films. And it's like, this feels like it. Like, it's not going to be about a tortured guy trying to resist bloodlust. It's not going to be about a heroic vampire. It's going to be like somewhere in the middle with like half a story of each. And I feel like that's what we're getting. But Matt, before we go to break, Matt, I told you get a victory lap. Matt's agenda time. You get 30 seconds before we go to break. Take your victory lap.
Evidently, Sonic 2 rules, which is awesome.
Yay!
And, everyone's liking Idris Elba Knuckles, which how the hell could you not?
I can't wait. Honestly, I can't wait to see this movie.
I mean, I can't wait for that either.
I'm so pumped. I was like, the fact that they're saying Jim Carrey is just going even more above and beyond is great. He was one of the best parts of the first one. It's a perfect family movie. Like, people are coming out and saying all the right things. Also, one of the ones I saw was that it's just so full of fun gaming Easter eggs for Sonic fans, and that franchise is right for it. And so, I mean, I'm just happy. I'm just happy. People like this. It's a feel-good thing. I'm stoked, man.
Yeah. I'm happy too. Sonic is good, and my kids are starting to like it. And yeah, Idris Elba Knuckles. It's going to confuse a lot of people in the same way that like Lola Bunny or Jessica confused a lot of us. It's
Sexy
good.
Knuckles, man. People love the Knuckles.
Yeah,
love it.
Good job. Furby community is very happy. Now, let's go to break. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the new Halo TV series, break it down. Matt gets to do another victory lap for his agenda, and we're going to talk comics. So stay tuned. Comic Book Nation, we are back. We have talked about some insider reactions to Moon Knight, Morbius. Matt got to do Sonic 2. And now we are going to give a full-fledged review of the new Halo TV series. Which is now streaming on Paramount Plus, as are we, by the way. Comic Book Nation. Paramount Plus. Check us out Sunday mornings. If you get up drinking your coffee, turn us on. Anyway,
some cereal. What?
Yep. Get some cereal. Turn us on. Sunday mornings, Paramount Plus on the ET Live channel. But also, if you're not watching us, you could watch the new Halo TV series. So this is the long-awaited adaptation of the, mega successful game series, which was the only reason anybody even knows Xbox now. Yeah, that was for you, Jim. And It brings us a vision of the Halo universe and its iconic hero, the Master Chief. And so on my review of this, I've seen 2 episodes. I'm only allowed to review the first, so that's all I'm going to talk about. And I got to say, as someone who played the games like insane, I mean, these games came out when I was in college, and especially like right after some years of college and summers, like Halo went mega successful for me. I was there midnight, lined up with everybody for Halo 2. Like, you know, I was mildly impressed when Halo 3 came out. And I got lost thereafter, but like I played the games a lot, but I wasn't always big into the lore. I wasn't buying Halo books. I wasn't buying like all that other additional stuff. Like, so me coming to this is
grunts in the face.
Yeah, like, so me coming into this, I kind of just had a basic knowledge of the game and just wanted to kind of get into the series. And I found that the approach the series takes, and this is what I said about Moon Knight and Halo, it's not the most original story. I mean, we've already gotten the kind of the Mandalorian comparisons and all that, but I liked this approach to this universe and how it sets up this story. I like how, in ways that I never really considered or thought about when I played the games, I like that the Spartans are not automatically like these heroes and traditional things. You see this very complicated universe of people who, with the Spartans kind of thrown in the middle as these weapons, and this growing threat of the Covenant still out there and kind of emerging. And it's all very interesting. And by the end of the first episode, I thought this was a great pilot episode. Very cinematic, very kind of good on developing characters, moving things around, and creating a situation that feels like it will galvanize a larger series, right? And so I liked it. And I've been a big fan of Pablo Schreiber since The Wire, all the way back in like 2002. I've loved this man's career and hoped he was going to do great things. And he does the near impossible job of really making Master Chief feel like Master Chief when he's in the helmet. But also, and I can say this, and this is the only thing I'll say about 2 episodes of knowledge, is also really grounds it when he's outside of the armor and still feels like Master Chief, but still feels like a character you can connect to and has a past, and the larger idea of who Master Chief is, and, you know, from John, his background and how he got here is very much intriguing in a way that never was in the games when he was just kind of your avatar for blowing things away, you know? So I'm liking Halo is all to say. And, you know, we are on the same network, but they're not paying me to say that. I just like Halo.
Are we talking spoilers a bit?
Yeah. I mean, this is a review. It's out there.
Did both episodes come out, or did they
just one? Just one.
Okay, good
just
to know.
The first one.
Thank you.
The opening gunfight that happens in like the first like 10 to 15 minutes of this first episode is some of the best like gunfight action stuff I think I've seen like on TV. It is so smooth. It is engaging. It's, this show is way more violent than I anticipated. Like
it's way more violent.
Oh my gosh, the legs getting blown off.
Like the games are actually that super violent. I mean, if you look at like
the Covenant is terrifying.
The Covenant they're menacing. They're truly menacing in a way that that I think just works. I mean, look, obviously, people are going to talk about some of the very clear nods that are like Easter eggs, but like they're not Easter eggs in like a wink, nudge, right? Like they're an integral part to the series. But like hearing the sound of the shield recharge, or like when they flip to first person mode, and like you see how many grenades Master Chief has left and how much ammo he has in his visor.
So good.
As a player of the games who was invested in the lore for maybe just like the first 3 games, I kind of fell off on the lore on the latter half. Like those elements for me as the gamer, I loved. But even as someone coming in as an outsider, I had a bunch of friends who watched it last night who have not played a single Halo game in their life and enjoyed it in that way. Man, Master Chief has to be one of the coolest designed heroes, that's in like a suit of armor with a helmet, right?
He did such a good job.
The thing that Halo, I think, does really well or gets right, that works for a lot of things is just like helmeted / masked, badass hero like sells, and I love it. And the only thing I hated about it premiering yesterday was I could not go buy Master Chief in Fortnite because that's what it wanted me to do. I watched it, but I wanted to go.
Why don't you
I
just go
wanted to
play
do
Halo
Master Chief
Infinite?
in Fortnite. I mean, yeah, that too. But like I said, there's
there might be a game or two you could play with this character if you're so inclined.
Things exist outside of Fortnite.
Right. No, I understand. But like I said, I think this, just the world building that it kind of sets up, I think is all there in that first episode, which I think is, just done really well. I was excited for this show. I am very close to being obsessed with this show. I really, really enjoyed it.
Jim, just for the record and based on some comments, are you saying that you supported that helmet off finale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who cares?
Good.
It's not like we like.
Hey.
Is Master Chief some like disfigured robot? Like, no.
Helmets are a big deal around here, Jim. We just are getting everything on the record.
All right, Janelle,
everything on the record.
I mean, I didn't recognize the actor when the helmet came off, and I was kind of like, I don't know, like, but luckily we got to slide into episode 2, so it was great. I'm totally down with helmet being off. Otherwise, like, I just feel like it would be very, very cold and emotionless and kind of boring. So I think that's like a must in this one. Yeah. But honestly, like, what's really important to me is that there's no like bad actor or like awkward thing that's going on that kind of ruins the vibe. Like, I sometimes feel like they'll get a lot of things right, and then something really sketchy or cornball will go on, and you're kind of like, oh darn it, like they dropped the ball. I didn't get any of that. Like, I was just really intrigued the entire time. Again, a casual Halo player from back in the day. Like, I just lived with the sword and the shotgun. But I know like the epicness of the sniping in the game. So seeing like a dedicated like sniper get up there and be able to just like take out some of these Covenant. Thank you. Was really cool. And yes, I think it definitely will satisfy a lot of the people that have, grown up gaming with this game. I am totally pumped about this, and I am really, really eager to see the next episode, and that's always really good.
Yeah, that's always a good indicator. Yes, comic book. I do like this. I am very excited, not because it has to do with the helmet. Thank you very much. Though, here's the thing. I will say, because I agree with Janelle. When Janelle was like, I don't know this actor. I've seen him in other stuff, but like, you go from he has an amazing.
Wait a minute. You are the SVU expert on here.
Well, okay. When I talk about Law and Order on this show, no one ever acknowledges it. So how the hell am I to assume to talk about nemesis. SVU? I'm saying
he's porn stash from Orange is the New Black. Where are you guys?
Oh my God, bless. Not the point, Kofi. You can defend his resume later.
Look, what I'm saying John Berthnall a little bit.
I'm saying is
we need that job.
Not that we don't know him from other stuff. What I'm saying is it's not like Brad Pitt is Master Chief. Okay, that's what I'm saying here. Okay, it is not like immediate like person that you associate with someone. So he takes off the helmet, and I go, he has an amazing Master Chief voice. Like the voice coming out of the helmet that you hear primarily through is perfect. I mean, it's just it's like this level of you just buy in. And then when he takes the helmet off, I had the moment of like, I don't know how I feel. Like I had that moment. I'm not gonna lie and say like I didn't have the moment of like I don't know. Too. And then because what Janelle mentions, when you get to then see the next step, which we'll talk about more, of course, next week, I was sold. I was sold on the next step. The next episode sold me. But I did have that moment of, I don't know, because it was going so well. It wasn't even a bad thing. It was just because it had been working so well for the other 40 minutes. I was kind of like, okay, I don't know. But to Jim's point, and to Kofi's point, this is a wonderful pilot. I think this is a pilot that gets you hooked, whether you're a Halo fan or not. I think the Spartan armor was done fantastically. I mean, I think it's stellar. It looks when they're talking amongst themselves, there's this weight and presence to them. You know they're special, even though it's not just like, oh, I'm an upgraded soldier. They feel important because the world treats them that way. Also, I will say Kwan, I love.
She's great.
I love that character by episodes in.
Held it down.
Yeah, so that character can easily go awry. It can easily become a bunch of tropes and a bunch of stuff. And there's one conversation she's having with I'm blanking on her name, but the daughter, the one who's trying to get her to like, hey, if you'll talk to people on camera.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
And there's that conversation, and she's like, why would her rationale for not doing it? It's just like pitch perfect. And you're like, of course, because you see that not everything is great between all these people living on this world. And that's something, I don't know, from the first couple of Halo games that I really played the story through. I never got that sense as much. I think the show does a really good job of pushing that forward a bit more.
Yeah, and I think the games. The word is complexity. This show does a good job of making every character feel both heroic, possibly heroic, but also possibly very threatening. Yeah. And it goes across the board. It goes from, everybody from the Master Chief and the Spartans to the Covenant, who even get their own complex kind of, story sides, to the people in the USMC. I'm going to butcher that. I think I'm mispronouncing, but in the military corps and the things they're willing to do, even in the first episode, and how far they're going to go and all of that. And so nobody's just a good guy or a bad guy. It's like everybody has sides to them, and it's done very well. And to make this a very complex situation, and therefore the choices are weightier and all that. So loving Halo.
I feel like episode 2. Go ahead, Jim.
No, you go, Janelle. Then
I feel like episode 2 definitely drops any kind of Mandalorian vibes.
Oh yeah,
and that is so important because I did feel a little bit like, oh, there's a companion and there's a dude in a helmet. And so episode 2, just for anyone who is excited about it, it goes its own way. You can go your own way. It's great.
There's two things really quick I wanted to mention is the Easter egg kind of things here, right? Like everything from like the guns, both UNMC and the Covenant stuff, like seeing the Phantom, seeing the energy sword, seeing the Warthog, all of that stuff is just so great. But also, JK at the site got a chance to talk to Kiki Wolfeld just yesterday, and those are going to start running on the site today. That Covenant elite that survives and makes its way back strongly hinted that one may become the Arbiter. And if that's the case,
I thought that immediately. Yeah.
That. Gimme.
You don't do that screen time for nothing. They have to start distinguishing him from the rest now, like right now.
But I do have a question. I do have a question for the group since Matt mentioned it, and it's a topic of conversation in the chat. Would you rather have Spartan armor or like Stormtrooper armor?
Oh, Spartan by far.
Spartan. I'm with Kofi. Spartan.
Yeah, I don't think who's going for Stormtrooper.
Oh,
somebody who wants to die.
I mean, I like the sleek.
Somebody who wants to die.
But
shields. You want armor with shields? You want armor with no shields?
I just like the sound effects.
Oh yeah, sound effects rule.
Some of the other it's like some of the other Stormtroopers, right? Like not necessarily your generic one, but like the Spartan armor to me. Man, but like between the visors and like kind of like I like the blockiness of the Spartan armor.
You were going way down a tube. Listen, I will say one thing about this that I noticed, and I think Jim said it in the beginning. This is the first time I feel like this series has more so than anything, like for just certain moments, it hits this weird, like perfect tune synergy between reality and video games where you just lose the sense to tell the difference anymore. And it's all that, and all the time we talk about the uncanny valley, both in gaming, in movies, trying to use like CGI and create those fantastical things. And there are moments, like Jim said, in the battles where you just seriously, your brain, like, and I could feel it happening in my head. It was so strange. We're just like, I don't know what this is in this reality anymore. Is this like a game? Is it a show? Like, and they nail it so perfectly that like it really does do that. And I think that's going to be a kind of standards milestone going forward because like,
I could watch Master Chief against those two Covenant Elite all day. Like like him.
Dude, when he leapt over and did the leaping blast over the head, I was just like,
But I
just was
love
over in my seat.
one
I
of
was
the
that
best
Vince
things about-
McMahon meme, you know.
one of the best things
Like,
about that gunfight though is that like the fact that like it plays like you would play the game, right? You spam with grenades. So like he's chucking 2 grenades before he is like sliding in with his battle rifle, going boom, 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 and then finishing him off with the pistol. That is legit, like that is gameplay. Like that is the way you would.
All right, we gotta
go.
move.
Yeah, it was crazy. Well done. I mean, yeah. After WoW, it just sounds like we are stumping for the company. But yeah, we got to recommend. Go get Paramount Plus and watch some Halo, and watch us. You know, it's really good. So there you go. And some Picard. Yeah, Picard's been pretty good too. So watch Picard as well. And also, some people have said The Offer. Yeah, the trailer for The Offer also came out. It's coming to Paramount Plus. The Making of the Godfather, which is, if you've never experienced it, crazy story. Like, yeah. So that's gonna be good.
To close this out, I feel like because Jim brought this up, because he wants to go play Fortnite with Master Chief in it. Janelle, does this make you want to jump back into Halo? Like, does this make you want to go?
It makes me want to play the OG Halo. Yeah. Like to get back on there. And like, I never played the actual story. I only just like jumped in and played online with the boyfriend at the time. And so now I'm kind of like, maybe I should play these stories. Like, and
got that Master Collection, man. Go do
Halo
I feel
2.
like that could be
Halo
pretty
2
fun.
I just need Halo Infinite to roll out the co-op, campaign.
That's really what I want. Yeah, I just want to do like a free, massive online multiplayer Halo. Get the Warthogs out again like we used to. Get the chips and the Warthogs out and get at it. All right, we got to move on.
Yeah,
Matt, take another victory lap for your agenda. The Witcher, take like a minute.
So I'm gonna make this quick. Essentially, CD Projekt Red announced a new Witcher saga. Is in development. It's in development for, they're going to be using Unreal Engine 5, which is awesome because the newest Unreal Engine looks dope. And they're moving from their custom Red engine, which they've been doing for a couple years now, starting with Witcher 2. It is going to be in development for a long time. Like, this is the announcement that a new saga is being created, but it's also important to note that it is a new saga. So, you probably should not expect Geralt. Series been thrown around, but again, they very well might be going a very different way, because the logo that they teased was actually a Lynx logo. So it is not the School of the Wolf that Geralt is from. And in fact, the Lynx doesn't actually exist in the canon. It is the only thing that exists for the School of the Lynx is a fan fiction, like a whole fan made thing that was made. They did confirm that it is indeed a Lynx that they've made in that medallion. So are they creating, did they decide, hey, that's a great idea? Did they already have some ideas for that and are kind of filling that out? Are they bringing that into Geralt's world? Who knows? But it's gonna be a minute. But the fact that they're moving, I don't know. I think the fact that they're moving to a new school is really interesting, because obviously there's other schools. The School of the Cat is probably the most well known outside of the Wolf. But I'm excited to see that, because you get pieces of them throughout the other games, but you don't really get to like be in the world and see how they've been making it over the years. So if we're gonna take on a new school, I'm cool for that. They are not calling it Witcher 4. They are partnering with Epic, but it is not going to be an Epic Store exclusive. So they've come out and addressed all those. It doesn't have a title yet either. So it's going to be a minute. We're probably looking at a couple years if they're just starting on it now.
Brian Wood in the comics says we'll get to play in about 10.
I mean, you ain't far off. I mean, I would say 5 or 6. Yeah. I'd say 5 or 6 probably in that wheelhouse. Cyberpunk took a long time. Yeah, I'm excited, man.
Look, guys, remember Cyberpunk? Remember how excited we were? Man, we did like entire episodes about that.
Yeah, and it's finally the game that they promised probably now. So after a bunch of patches, So yeah, but that's Witcher.
All right, take us into comics, Matt. What are we doing this week? Ooh.
All right, so we have the conclusion, the spicy conclusion of the Lives and Deaths Wolverine saga with 10 Deaths of Wolverine number 5. This brings everything together, picks up right where the last one left off. Phalanx Wolverine is on the move. We are going full spoilers here, so FYI, spoiler warning, because there's a big one in here towards the end. So I mean, this saga has over time I kind of went into this, I've said it before, like not really expecting a lot and kind of like, why are we focusing so much on Wolverine? And I could not have been more wrong. Like, this has been fantastic.
Richard, time note.
Huh?
Just make it a time note of right now so we can clip this so we can replay it for the future.
Yeah, because I said I was wrong. Because I said I was wrong. I could not have been more wrong on this. It's been I feel like the payoff at the end was extremely satisfying, both from how Wolverine is perceived within the X-Men, how this particular story of this Phalanx Wolverine ends the battle, and then also the end and how Moira moves on from here and planting that seed and her forethought. I just love this issue. I thought it wrapped everything up beautifully. And then also planted a great seed moving forward. What did you guys think?
I think, I mean, they, I tweeted at some of the creators of this series, I think Percy this week, and I mean, they did a good job, and there's so much going on here. It can be hard to kind of pull back and see the forest for the trees. But one thing I think they did with Wolverine, and I said this at the end of X Lives in the kind of beautiful little kind of soliloquy they went out on in that comic, is they've kind of repositioned Wolverine as this kind of like guardian of mutanthood across time, and how they can play with that in different ways. You've seen it in these two series, just how many different ways they can play with that. Whether it's him living into these futures and coming back to affect time, or him sending his consciousness in the back, like Days of Future Past style, and being able to do that, or just wherever he is in history in different positions, being this pivotal character to help guide things. And I think that's an interesting new kind of reframing of Wolverine that helps in a lot of ways to clean up all the mess that has been created from like different versions of him, being all over. And like now there's a reason why there's like 50 million versions of Wolverine and, different futures, different things that he's lived out, and you could play with that going forward. And now what they've done with Moira as this new kind of big bad, and made this point from House of X about her 11th life and this, bonus life she could have and what that's all about. And, spoilers, her being able to, and I love these X-Men series because they give you answers and they deliver on things, but then they also kind of kick the can down the road of setting up even bigger things. Like, you're going to have to explain that. And like, it's just like, now we got to explain, like, what does Moira's power mean within the same like lifetime? Like, what does that mean? You're just going full multiverse of madness and stuff is just going to start, back to featuring on us, like in the Marvel universe. Like, so I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that. But, I like how this actually finds a place for Wolverine in this kind of larger House of X structure, right? Because he was just grumpy guy on Krakoa with the whole "where do I be a killer in peacetime" thing, and that's fun. But like, this is a lot more fun.
Yeah, Janelle.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing was great. I was reading in the comments, you guys pretty much just talked about the whole thing. So Meteor in the comic says, I love the saga, but why can't we give love to other mutants besides Wolverine? And I will say, I knew it was going on because it is a familiar character for me who like doesn't have a lot of background with the mutants and everything like that. But I get that point. Also, I thought that Moira was, I keep having this problem with mutants. I don't understand who are the good guys and who are the bad guys and why not.
Careful. We're starting to get some social activist groups contacting us about X-Men.
I kind of felt for Moira sometimes.
I think you should, though.
Okay.
In this new this kind of post Hickman landscape, like, I don't either. Like, I don't like.
There's a lot of gray.
Outside of the Wolverine books, like, I've kind of fallen out of some of the X-Men stuff. Like, I love Wolverine and I love the X-Men. It's basically like, what Ben Pierce is touching. But
you don't love Marauders? Oh my God, Marauders!
I mean, I read it every once in a while. I dip in and out, but like, to me, these Wolverine books have just been fun. Like, like they deal with some big heavy ideas from time to time, but like they've just been fun. I'm not like the world's biggest Wolverine fan, and Ben Pierce has slowly converted.
He has become one of my favorite Wolverine writers. I think you can tell it's one of his favorite characters.
Oh yeah, no, he's good at this, and he really understands the character of Logan. And and he really does a good job of making him big, but also really kind of centered at the same time. I think X-Men needs to stick with these dual series formats. I mean, they've been the best things, right? Like House of X and Powers of X, X Lives and X Deaths to Wolverine. It's just fun to read them that way too.
Yeah, and I agree with Janelle, by the way. I feel for because one of the things I actually like that was highlighted in the series, and then we'll move on to the next book, is that there is this whole like quiet council having Xavier and Magneto and these people sometimes be the only voices to lead presents problems. Like there's flaws in this structure, and like they actually did a really crappy thing to Moira. Like they really screwed her over, like in a lot of ways. So their hands are bloody too. And I do think they reflected some of that in the series. But yes, like I agree with Janelle. Like I feel bad for her at times because I'm like, okay, she didn't make this bed herself, but she's being put as the sole person responsible, and that's not fair either. Xavier is, a complete tool sometimes. Same with Magneto.
I also I feel bad for humans because I am one.
Never feel bad for humans. I think that Moira is being positioned to be this godlike figure who is going to be the one who's tired of all of this, right? Tired of mankind, tired of mutants, tired of machines, and just tired of the whole thing. And that allows her to be the figure who makes some significant change down the line. So I'm excited to see what that is. Although I feel like also, guys, I think we just are all kind of, maybe things have just gotten so crazy in the world, but we're all skipping over skinning somebody for their face is the new fridging to me.
Oh my God, you gotta.
Oh
come
my
on,
God,
let the Banshee.
She wore Banshee's face.
Let it go.
Let's talk about fridging, but wearing somebody's face to sneak into places when you're like supposed to be a hero.
He's coming back. Relax. Just put him. Just
moving on.
Set the timer. He's out of the eggs. Fine. Whatever.
Moving on. So, to a group of people who don't skin wear faces.
The Rogues, number one. Look, Black Label has been absolutely killing.
Best thing DC's done in years.
And this book, for me anyway, no different. Takes the Rogues, and everyone knows a lot of them. A lot of times, Captain Cold, Heatwave, Trickster, Mirror Master, all these people. And what it does is then it jets to like 10 years in the future, after so many years of crime and stuff, and they're all in different places now. But it really follows Snart, it follows Captain Cold, and it's like he's trying to just live his normal life. He's trying to stay on the straight and narrow. He's got a job, and he gets promoted, and then the conversation between like the two managers that promote him is what literally it's the thing that breaks the camel's back. But like he had been already feeling stress and been frustrated. But like this conversation, which is just like, he's got to accept this. We're doing this for this, checks this box, and it just upsets him to a point where he's like, I got to get the gang back together again. He's already heard of it's actually cool that the heist itself is one that he had heard about years ago, and now he wants to do it, and it brings in Gorilla City and all that. But I loved this. I loved seeing him go and get the team together, have all these conversations after so much life has happened for all these people. They're all in very different places, and it's kind of going to be this just big heist thing. Man, I was sold. I was like, I want to see what happens next. So I was digging this. What'd you guys think?
This is such a sad, it's a perfect kind of concept execution of the Rogues, because what does set the Rogues apart is they are this blue collar workman level of villains, right? And they're something that DC kind of seized on, of taking all these C-D level villains and putting them together and making that Keystone City's little union of villains is kind of a weird metaphor for, crime, but also, like I said, blue collar workmanship and all this stuff. And this is what this series is about. It's such a powerful jump as the last scene of just seeing Captain Cold in this bar where they're all just going on and on about the same hero stories, never achieving any goals, always having to deal with prison and failure and all this stuff. And then it just cuts to 10 years and you're just seeing them trying to live in an economic system and obey the rules and getting nowhere, being punished for the criminal history and all the real world kind of, working class struggles of today that are reflected in this book. But so also a comical level of seeing these DC villains we know deal with old age economic worries, mental health, and like all these everyday problems because they're just so old, and with the whole Danny Glover Lethal Weapon attitude for all of them, right? Like I'm too old for this, like, and you know, from Bronze Tiger to just Captain Cold to just Heat Wave was still like a nut, which is like
Heat Wave is so, that interaction is so good. I don't need it, but I had a speech, but I don't need the speech. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
and so like he's like, yeah, yep, and so like you said, and like this kind of mix of like Ocean's 11 and those weird Morgan Freeman movies where he and all their old actors get together and do crazy stuff. Like, you know, it has that kind of vibe to it. But like you said, DC Black Label just has this edge to it that makes it all like work and feel like all of these feel like worlds I would want to continue to play in. And I'm just happy. Yeah, Williamson's killing it. So, and I'm just happy to see where this goes and how this heist unfolds. And I feel like if any one of these characters gets murked, I feel like I'm going to be like, oh, like, and really impacted by it already. I'm
going to be bummed. Yeah. Janelle, what'd you think?
Well, I opened it up and I was like, oh God, there's a lot going on here between like a lot of dialogue and a lot of, there's just a lot. There's a lot.
Quietly closes.
But holy majolies, this was my favorite read. I just loved this. I started seeing all the like little Easter eggs and all the artwork, just seeing like references to characters. And obviously, like I'm familiar with some of these characters because of the Arrowverse, and I was just really, really jazzed about this. I'm very curious to see where it goes. They didn't have to make it quite so long. Like it could have gotten to the point a little faster, but that ending was great. I'm jazzed. I'm jazzed about the ending, and I love seeing a character go like full savage mode. And it's time, and I feel for the characters. I feel for all of them because they were these, you know, super powerful, like respected within the villain community, and now they're all just kind of like washed up. And I don't know, I kind of relate to that with my American Idol days. What?
Oh, I got
I'm kidding.
History tease. Origin story.
I know we got to run through some stuff.
It's great. Surprisingly amazing. Loved it.
Jim, did you?
I did. It's this book from top to bottom, I think is going to be a good one in the long haul. From the art, the writing, even down to the lettering, is just something.
Going to be an epic graphic novel.
Yeah, I think so. Right, like it's a ton of fun. The premise is perfect. I love, you know, that we're getting something kind of devoted to something like this, and I'm in.
Yeah, no, it's good. Moving on to the poll winner. Speaking of Venom, Lethal Protector #1, which takes us back in time. It's kind of like what they've been doing with some of their other characters, where they jump back in to a previous run or kind of a prequel. So this is like early Eddie Brock, early Venom, but of course, new adventures that tie into the other stuff. And that description, I feel like, is a pretty good description of also like what this issue is. Because, like, as much as I love Humbug, this was just very like, what's the old? Like it was fine. It was fine, and I enjoyed it for what it was. But like, you know, there's not. I don't know. I read this last. I shouldn't have done that. I read this last. So I read this after Deaths. I read this after Rogues. And then
did you read Patch or the Maestro book?
I have not read Maestro yet, but I did read Patch.
Marvel's doing this thing where like they're bringing back, you know, a bunch of classic, you know, guys who have made, you know, significant stamps on certain characters. David Michelinie, obviously for Venom here, and it felt like a '90s book in a fun way.
Right. Look, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but
I'm not saying, but I don't see it as a pejorative, right? Because like I have a deep affection for those '90s books.
I do too, but like, okay, I do too, but not in the way. I like the concept of exploring an early run. No, right. So I like the concept of exploring a certain era of time or whatever, but I need it to be like to today's standards. Like I need you to kind of look at it like you would look at a book today, but set it in that time frame. And this doesn't do that. This is very much like, hey, if you liked this series in the 90s, this is straight out of there. And for me, that just doesn't have enough depth. It doesn't have enough of anything that I'm really looking for now. And it's not as unabashedly just like pure fun action, whatever, that would get me distracted from that. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to go off, and all I'm going to say about this is comics need to stop this in general. Like you can't, this to me does not entertain me like modern stories. And it also just makes me go back and look at myself in the 90s and be like, wow, you like some dumb stuff in the 90s. Like instead of just letting me have that nostalgia, right? Like our brains are not supposed to do this. Like we're supposed to have our nostalgia, our memories, you know, our golden shining things. And we're not supposed to go look at accurate, you know, things. I mean, you can read your old 90s comics and still be like, oof, yeah.
I still do.
Yeah, and I have Lethal Protector right upstairs. Like,
and some of them are oof. Yeah.
And coming back to them just like and trying to like do this as if it's a fun nostalgia trip. It doesn't work here. It doesn't work in the other Marvel series. I mean, it didn't work for me in the Batman 89 comic or the Superman 78 comic. Like, you can't just recreate these times. Like they're gone. And we're taking comic nostalgia to a place where I feel like it's going to end up being that snake eating itself. Like we're just going to have comics making comics about comics that, you know, trying to get back nostalgia, and then another attempt at getting back nostalgia of making nostalgia. Like, it's just nuts. Like, we need to stop. This didn't need to happen. And I'm like, this is just a great snapshot of bold new things that we're doing. We have a great snapshot this week of one comic that's doing bold, crazy new things with characters. And that's, you know, Wolverine. One comic that's doing a new kind of story with very established and seemingly not that, you know, characters who wouldn't have that much more to explore, you know, rogues. And then we have this like kind of nostalgia cash-in attempt. And I'm not saying the people who created it and these creators didn't come with genuine creative joy and love like they did and came back. But it's just like, no, like, you know, one of these does not belong. And I'm just like, get this out of here. I'll take new and kind of insightful stories about established characters, and I'll take crazy new concepts we can explore. That's comics to me. I don't need this.
Janelle?
I'll be so quick. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't spectacular.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the read. It was a casual kind of read through, and I like Venom. So getting to know his character and seeing him do his little talk back and forth, the Eddie Brock stuff just it's just fun. So in the end, I'm just like, I feel for him.
Yeah. Well, and I just got, I don't agree that there's not a space for nostalgia. I just don't think this was particularly done. This didn't explore anything fun about it other than just like, hey, we're back here. So I just don't think, but like Godzilla versus Power Rangers is ridiculous. It is completely ridiculous and over the top, but it lives in both of those ridiculous worlds and has fun with it. And I'm down for that. I liked Batman TMNT. I liked all those. Like, those fun crossovers live in nostalgia, but they do it in a way that is just unabashedly fun and fan servicey and cool. You know exactly what you're getting there.
Yep.
Having Venom, Lethal Protector #1, I like the new Venom. I like what they've done with that world. And so I just really want to be there. And if you're going to go the other way with it, cool. But just just have fun and do something completely over the top and ridiculous to kind of justify it. You know what I mean? So that's where I am. But by the way, go read Godzilla vs. Power Rangers. It's gorgeous and ridiculous and stupid and fun. So go do that. That's comics.
Seconded.
All right. And I will end just by hyping this weekend is Anime Japan is happening. And we are expecting over on Comicbook.com anime, a lot of big things from, you know, what's going to happen with Dragon Ball to what's going to happen if there's going to be, you know, we're expecting, fingers crossed, for this Attack on Titan movie. A lot of big things coming out. Anime Japan. So stay tuned to Comicbook.com anime this weekend and going forward, because we're going to have a lot of new developments coming out of that direction as well. All right. I believe that'll do it for this week of Comic Book Nation. We are your one-stop shop for all things geek culture, and you can always find our work, our insights, and a whole bunch of other goodness from our larger staff over on Comicbook.com. Be sure to check that out. If you want to check out Comic Book Nation podcast, you can subscribe to watch us on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook pages for Comic Book. We also are developing, can we announce that, Jim? Can we say that or tease it?
Yeah.
Yes. We are developing our own YouTube station for the podcast so that we can go and start to build out and put up, you know, because we do a lot of writing, theories, interviews, and stuff that we can start to put in that channel and give you guys some more video content for and all kinds of fun stuff. So we're going to have a Comic Book Nation YouTube channel So we're going to be trying to flex that out as well. And you guys can help us do that. If you just want to listen to the podcast, we're on your favorite podcast platforms. If you want to follow us on the socials and keep up to date with, breaking news articles, everything that's happening with the podcast, or just all of us, you can subscribe at Comic Book Nation. And you can follow us individually. If you're watching, you can see our names on the screen. If you're listening, I'm at Kofi Outlaw.
I am at Matt Aguilar CB.
I am at Janelle Wheeler.
I'm at Jim Viscardi.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. As always, we love you. We love all our fans, all of our regular listeners. You guys are the best. And we'll see you guys next week. All right, peace.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Deuces.